Now, as we discussed yesterday, Google has successfully released one of the most hilariously racist AIs ever made. I think that if South Park themselves would have tried to satirize this last week, they wouldn't have been able to do a much better job than Google themselves did. And the reason that people consider the AI of being racist is that it erases Caucasian people from history. Like, it's almost impossible. Many have tried to get the AI to show a depiction of a Caucasian in a historical setting. So if you are asking it to draw you a Viking, it will draw black Vikings, black female Vikings, American Indian Vikings. It just flat out refuses to draw a Caucasian Viking. If you ask it to draw the founding fathers, it doesn't. It uses the Netflix adaptation for them. If you're asking them to draw the Pope, it doesn't. It uses the Netflix adaptation for popes. I think that maybe this is what's happening. They trained the AI on Netflix, right? Like, they got the AI to watch Netflix, and they thought that the fiction which Netflix is creating is actually reality. But all jokes aside, people have looked into the individuals that were in charge of the AI safety, right? Because it is dangerous and harmful for someone if the AI were to depict a Caucasian pope. But these individuals were very deep into the far left radical rabbit hole. Let's put it like this, right? Tim Pool called them cultists. I call them hilarious. I mean, I do appreciate their contribution, because otherwise I wouldn't have had the laugh the other day. But now we finally see the mainstream media acknowledging that, okay, well, this may be a problem, right? So, like, creating a product, especially when you're Google, the most influential company in the world, like almost everybody with internet access uses Google in some form or another. So when this company is pushing a product that erases an entire group of people from existence, you gotta wonder why, right? Like, why do they do this? What is the goal? And they make it very public as to why that is. But the way the press interprets it is interesting. They think that, well, actually, the racism is towards the people of color. It's not towards the Caucasian, right? Like, imagine an alternate universe where you make an AI which erases, let's say, the people of color from history, right? So, like, if you're asking it to draw Shaka Zulu, it will draw you a white man. If you're asking it to draw you some ancient Japanese samurai, it draws you a white man, right? Like, people would go like, well, what is wrong with your AI? Why is it doing this? And imagine in this alternate universe, you'd have like the KKK coming out and saying, well, actually, this AI is racist towards Caucasians. It makes absolutely no sense. So why do they do it? Well, I think for two reasons. Number one, if they were to admit that Google AI is racist towards Caucasians, they would first have to give credit to the people that discovered it, right? They would have to give credit to Tim Pool. They would have to give credit to Matt Walsh. They would have to talk about all these individuals on Twitter that were pointing it out. And they do not want this. They do not want to give attention to independent journalists. It's not like a left-wing, right-wing type of issue. It's not even a racial issue. It's just populist versus corporate establishment. So the corporate establishment press doesn't want people to know, hey, by the way, there's a Tim Pool, there's a Mini Beanie on Twitter, and he makes content. The second reason is that the whole purpose of this ideology is to create foot soldiers, is to create people capable of immense hate. If you don't know what I'm talking about, remember during the pandemic, remember how all these individuals that were like, if only we can save one life, if only we can shut down all aspects of our economy, right? Like these individuals were allegedly doing it to save grandma, right? And they were doing it out of compassion, kindness, empathy, like all sorts of good emotions, right? But at some point, it's almost like a switch has flipped, and they became some of the most aggressive, radical members of our society. Like, all of a sudden, you had neighbor turning against neighbor and being absolutely livid. Like, what do you mean you don't want to take the Pfizer communion? Well, hopefully the military is going to pin you down and force you. You know, like, those were individuals that went on Reddit, on Twitter. We all saw their posts, completely unhinged, right? And the same individuals that were one day, if only we can save one life, the next day we're like, to war! Ukraine, to war! If only NATO can get in with Russia. Oh, what are you? Oh, you're like a Russian citizen trying to take part in a cat competition? Never on my watch. You know, like you notice how you have like these individuals that are primed for hatred, right? And they just need a target. They just need the mainstream media to tell them today you hate this, tomorrow you hate that. And it's almost like a switch. It doesn't even make sense. It's weird. It's surreal to see like the amount of evilness that some of these individuals are capable of, right? And you use the woke ideology in order to prime them to think that way. And the woke ideology says that in the past there have been injustices. They laser focus only on one type of injustices. And then it concludes that in order for the past injustices, which again, like no one alive has faced, you need to do present injustices against the ancestors of those people. So you're teaching blood guilt, basically. And you have to create this narrative between good and evil, oppressor, oppressed, right? And under this narrative, the oppressor, under no circumstances can they become oppressed. It's almost like by definition, it's clear cut, it's white and black. So you can't really ever make the claim that the oppressor can ever face any certain type of oppression. Because if you do, the entire narrative falls apart. The entire house of cards falls apart. Like your priming of soldiers, the people on Twitter, Reddit, you know, the ones that are going to do activism on your behalf, get people fired, right? Like, they will stop being useful. Because they need the ideology. And without the ideology, you get to Occupy Wall Street. You get like the people forming hands, you know, and realizing, oh, well, actually populism is what we need. And the 1%, they're playing by different rules. They're getting wealthier and wealthier while we're getting poorer. So it's not that the average people are at grievance with each other. No, it's like, let's look to the top and see who's in charge. And this is what woke ideology tries to prevent. It tries to prevent individuals from being friends with one another, right? And it's saying, no, you can't be friends because actually, like, some of you are oppressors, others are oppressed. This has been done from medieval times. It's like, get the peasantry to fight amongst each other, right? Rather than to look at the nobility. So in this situation, they're basically saying that the reason the AI is racist towards people of color is because when asked to depict Nazis, it depicts people of color, right? Because again, like the AI refuses to acknowledge that white people existed in history. So when you're asking them to depict Nazis, what are they depicting? I think like the Babylon Bee asked them to depict medieval kings eating watermelon, and the results were indeed racist. The New York Times surprisingly didn't catch on to that, because that was a little bit more offensive, I would say, than putting people of color in Nazi era uniforms. But of course, if you're going by what I am saying, it makes perfect sense. They do not want to give any type of air to individuals who are populist and are not associated with the corporate press. Let me know what you guys think, though. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.